Most women emotionally leave relationships months before men finally notice attraction completely disappeared afterward, naturally. And the terrifying part is most men personally destroy attraction without realizing their behavior caused everything. They think women lose attraction because looks fade, money disappears, or texting becomes boring afterward, naturally. But attraction usually dies whenever women sense emotional weakness, slowly replacing masculine emotional stability internally afterward. That is why modern dating quietly destroys countless men emotionally while women keep emotionally pulling away afterward. Because nobody explains the exact invisible moment female attraction silently starts emotionally collapsing underneath relationships constantly. Most men actually believe attraction grows through comfort, reassurance, emotional chasing, and constant romantic validation today. But real attraction psychology works completely differently underneath modern relationships and female emotional behavior constantly afterward, naturally. Think about magnets carefully. Identical poles instantly push each other apart emotionally and psychologically naturally afterward. But opposite poles create tension, curiosity, chemistry, and powerful emotional energy between people constantly afterward naturally. Female attraction works similarly because emotional polarity unconsciously creates romantic excitement and emotional anticipation afterward naturally. The moment women emotionally feel safer than excited, attraction slowly starts disappearing underneath relationships afterward naturally. That explains why some men effortlessly create chemistry while others become emotionally forgettable incredibly fast afterward consistently. Most modern men accidentally destroy polarity because they desperately seek emotional approval from women constantly online. Social media completely changed male behavior patterns without most men realizing emotional damage happening internally afterward. Now, men constantly overanalyze replies, stalk stories obsessively, and emotionally panic whenever attraction slightly changes afterward naturally. 100 years ago, men never emotionally collapsed because women delayed replying several hours unexpectedly afterward naturally. But today, countless men completely lose emotional composure whenever women suddenly become emotionally distant online afterward consistently. And women subconsciously feel this emotional dependence almost immediately during conversations and relationship dynamics afterward naturally. Because female psychology naturally tests emotional stability before deeply trusting masculine emotional leadership completely afterward naturally. Think honestly about your last relationship, especially moments attraction quietly started emotionally disappearing between both together. Maybe she stopped texting enthusiastically. Maybe conversations suddenly felt colder and emotionally disconnected afterward consistently instead. So naturally, you reacted emotionally harder, trying desperately fixing everything before completely losing her emotionally afterward naturally. You sent longer texts, over-explained feelings repeatedly, and emotionally chased reassurance constantly afterward desperately instead. But instead of rebuilding attraction, your emotional panic quietly pushed her even further away afterward naturally instead. Because women emotionally connect strongest whenever men remain calm during emotional uncertainty and uncomfortable relationship tension naturally. Not toxic, emotionally unavailable behavior, but grounded masculine energy, refusing emotional chaos and desperate validation constantly afterward. That is why emotionally disciplined men usually appear naturally attractive without trying unbelievably hard around women afterward. Women subconsciously interpret emotional stability as confidence, leadership, emotional safety, and masculine emotional direction simultaneously afterward naturally. And once women emotionally feel that grounded masculine presence consistently, attraction starts growing almost automatically afterward naturally. Most men still believe physical appearance creates attraction stronger than masculine emotional presence naturally today online. That explains why countless men obsess endlessly over looks, money, muscles, and social status constantly afterward online. Yet average-looking men often attract beautiful women effortlessly, while attractive men still lose relationships afterward consistently. The hidden difference usually comes down toward emotional groundedness during stressful relationship situations, afterward, naturally, instead. Imagine sitting inside a crowded restaurant while your date suddenly becomes emotionally cold and distant unexpectedly afterward. Most men instantly panic internally, then unconsciously begin chasing emotional reassurance immediately afterward, desperately, instead naturally. They overtalk, crack nervous jokes constantly, and emotionally seek validation underneath awkward emotional tension afterward, naturally. But emotionally grounded men behave differently because their emotional state already feels internally stable beforehand, naturally, instead. They remain relaxed, continue conversations calmly, and never emotionally collapse during uncomfortable silence moments afterward, naturally. And strangely, that calm masculine energy usually makes women emotionally curious almost immediately underneath everything afterward, naturally. Because women constantly study emotional behavior subconsciously before deeply emotionally investing into men afterward, consistently, naturally. One of the biggest attraction killers today is excessive emotional validation from emotionally desperate modern men everywhere. Most men wrongly believe constant reassurance automatically creates deeper emotional attachment and romantic obsession afterward, naturally instead. So they compliment excessively, overtext constantly, and emotionally explain feelings far too early afterward, consistently instead. At first, women enjoy attention temporarily, because validation naturally feels emotionally exciting and comforting initially afterward sometimes. But slowly, mystery disappears, emotional tension fades completely, and masculine polarity quietly becomes emotionally weaker afterward naturally. Because attraction emotionally survives through uncertainty, curiosity, emotional tension, and emotional space between people afterward naturally. The moment women completely predict your emotional behavior, excitement usually starts disappearing underneath attraction afterward, naturally instead. Emotionally needy men accidentally reveal complete emotional dependence far too quickly during dating situations, constantly, afterward, naturally. They send massive emotional paragraphs nightly, seek reassurance constantly, and emotionally panic whenever energy slightly changes afterward. Women subconsciously feel that emotional dependence immediately, even while still emotionally liking those men beforehand deeply. Eventually, attraction quietly transforms into emotional responsibility instead of excitement, tension, and romantic curiosity afterward, naturally, instead. That is why emotionally attractive men never rush forcing emotional closeness before attraction naturally deepens afterward, consistently, naturally. The men women remember emotionally are rarely the men trying hardest, gaining female attention constantly today online. Usually, women remember men who created emotional tension, curiosity, mystery, and psychological excitement naturally, afterward, consistently, instead. Not through manipulation tactics, but through emotionally grounded, masculine presence during unpredictable relationship moments afterward, naturally. Emotionally reactive men become forgettable because they constantly seek validation and emotionally depend on female attention afterward. Meanwhile, emotionally grounded men create stronger emotional impact without constantly forcing attraction toward women afterward naturally instead. They remain calm whenever tension appears, emotionally centered whenever uncertainty suddenly enters relationships unexpectedly afterward naturally. Women subconsciously remember that masculine emotional stability because it feels incredibly rare within modern dating culture today. Most men emotionally panic whenever attraction slightly changes, then accidentally destroy remaining attraction afterward completely instead, naturally. But emotionally grounded men understand attraction naturally rises and falls without emotionally collapsing underneath uncertainty afterward consistently. That emotional discipline creates mystery, emotional respect, romantic tension, and deeper female emotional investment afterward naturally instead. Once you truly understand female attraction psychology, modern dating suddenly feels far less confusing afterward naturally instead. You stop obsessing over texting strategies, validation tactics, and desperate emotional reassurance constantly afterward online instead. Instead, you focus deeply on emotional discipline, masculine stability, and grounded emotional self-control afterward, naturally, consistently. Because attraction rarely grows through chasing women emotionally harder whenever emotional tension suddenly appears afterward, naturally, instead. The moment women stop feeling your emotional dependence, constantly seeking reassurance, everything quietly starts changing afterward, naturally. Conversations feel lighter, naturally. Attraction grows stronger emotionally, and women start emotionally chasing you afterward, unconsciously instead. Not because you manipulated anyone psychologically, but because masculine emotional energy finally returned naturally afterward, consistently instead. And honestly, most men will never understand this truth deeply during their entire dating lives today. But now you do, and that realization alone already separates you from emotionally reactive modern men today.